This is the after chapter discussion for 10.20E, another E chapter, another Laken chapter coming to redominate the E space. Yeah, this is the second Laken chapter in a row, and there's pretty much a guaranteed next Laken chapter. So I'm sure everyone is extremely excited for Emperors, and that's why we have so many people today. So many people have joined us for this discussion. It's truly, truly the most amazing of discussions. Anyways, let's start it off by just doing some general impressions of the chat. I already see 2 people have pinged me for their general impressions, but I reserve the right to ignore all of you and just state what I think without listening to any of you. And I say this chapter was pretty darn good. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. Let me pull it up. I don't actually have it pulled up right now. Why are there so many people wanting to talk? 8 out of 10. It was a great Laken chapter. I loved seeing more of Alevica. Her getting that translation skill was really cool, and I really wonder why it was named differently. Um, and if we'll get lore on that in the future, mayhaps, mayhaps. Otherwise, yeah, great chapter. We're finally getting Lillian to come back um into the story, and what the heck is she doing here? It seems like she's all alone. So what exactly is she planning on doing all alone with just her griffin? Is she gonna just try and assassinate Wiscaria? Who knows? How is she gonna do anything to Wiscaria? Who knows? But other than that, yeah, I just really enjoyed this chapter. It was just fun overall. And one last thing, you guys should all check out the fan art after the chapter. We have a lot of good fan art this chapter. Like a lot of good fan art. So good. Anyways, let's go to the first person who wanted to speak. Moffy Hamster, otherwise known as Aderon. Go ahead.
Yes. Um, First of all, 2 lies that you told. It's not a Laken chapter. It really is not a Laken chapter because I think he had 5 lines in the whole chapter or something, and then it was about somebody else. Um, and second lie, I don't think we had less people in attendance for this ACD talk since a few chapters. But that's because it's Laken and probably nobody cares about Laken. Nah, okay, she does care about Laken. That's not true. But anyway, where did I go? This chapter was okay, I think. Like, yeah, 6 out of 10. I mean, it's personally for me because the whole Laken side of story is not the most interesting. Uh, I still like Doreen's character development. It was a Laken chapter slash order chapter, and obviously the leader of the order just stole the show. Stole the whole chapter with his performance against Grimerkin, and otherwise, um, we still don't know the ramifications of making Fae leaders of uh, parts of Fae part of the city. We probably get that next chapter, so I'm excited for that. Otherwise, the romance was kind of cute. We have a typical tsundere character, and we may be starting to see the more dere part, and that's also cute. So yeah, I'm okay with another chapter instead of like totally. I wanna go back to the real Aaron.
Hmm. The
Oh,
real
and I
Aaron.
forgot something too important. Drakes suck.
Yeah.
Again, I'm saying it again. Drakes suck. They are the worst species in in-world. Maybe Naga, but I don't. I think we only know one Naga. I'm not sure right now. Um, but yeah, Drakes are not good people.
You heard it here first. We're racist in this chat. Anyways, we did see part of what the Fae brought to the table. The elementals and the
Ah,
familiars just like popping up.
true.
That was definitely because of the Fae's influence over the land. Um, I forgot about talking about Norman. I forgot. I love the Norman scene and the all the vampire stuff happened. It's great. It's great. But
How
yeah.
Pirate is using the different flames, and how Honor has explained that Honor is not dangerous only for those who have some. It's just
Hmm.
awesome. This is
Hmm.
just awesome.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
a great way to develop the skill and the flame
yeah.
overall.
Imagine you would instantly see somebody who has no honor, who has no problem no problem moving in this flame, and Grimmelkin, somebody who has honor, who thinks he has honor, who knows he's probably in the wrong. It's like I can't really move well in this fire, and just this is just creative, and this is a writing decision I can just give props for.
Yep, yep, yep. I definitely agree. Any other thoughts, Edoron?
Not right now.
All right. Thank you, Edoron. Next up, Mr. Europe.
Yes. I would say this was a 14 out of 10 chapter because Thalisa was in it. And Thalisa is, as we all know, a witch that's been everyone's been wondering about for the since volume 6. I've been talking about her for 3 years now, wondering when she's going to appear in the story again. And it's been one of the main mysteries of the Wandering Inn, and I am very pleased to see that she is a great witch and just as cool as I wanted her to be. So yeah, I've been anticipating this for a very long time, and I'm very, very happy that this chapter was the Thalissa chapter. And yeah, that's mainly all that happened in it. Seriously though, I did enjoy all the other parts. I'm really growing on Olivica and like her adventures, just enjoying all the different character moments with that we're getting. The knights was great. Alevica part was great. Lakin's part was great. Thalissa parts were the best parts of the story, of course.
Of course, of course. The Talissa parts were, yeah, they were in there. They were in there. She got like 3 paragraphs over the course of the chapter, but yeah, you got your wish, Miss Europe. You got your long-held wish of getting some Talissa in here. Uh, I'm so happy for you. Anyways, thank you, Mr. Europe. I'm glad to hear that you enjoyed the chapter. Now, let's go to Red Ink Quill.
So the number one reason why there aren't a ton of people in chat today is not because of what the chapter's content, it's because it's on a Monday and people are at work. So
Eh,
that's probably the reason why. Uh, I actually really liked the chapter because it brought up like conflicting emotions within me. Um, like a lot of the chapter was spent saving Lapsey, the vampire, and from the Drakes. and then we find out what her motivations and plans are is to like have hundreds of true vampire children and be a brood mother. And it's like, is that such a good thing? Have hundreds of true vampires running around. And then we also find out that her husband, her groom that died, had basically abducted her from her village and maybe used some mind control on her to turn her on to him. And it was just like kind of it was very exploitative. I really liked the Elvica parts of the chapter. I thought that she's getting some really good skills for being level 5, but I'll take it. There seems to be some power creep in this story where the lower levels are getting stronger skills, but I'm not gonna split hairs over that. I really liked the Order of the Solstice trying and failing and then trying again with better tools to navigate Palace and save their charge. I thought Doreen learning that she's not that great of a fighter, she's just been relying on her strength is good. It'll have some growth for her. And I also like how she's like feeling very strongly about stuff when she confronted Lakin, and I really like that. I love the Wistrom mage being like, "Oh, I have the translate spell. I'll be able to make you irrelevant, and I'm so useful." And they immediately get like cognito hazard and like go mad just by reading like a page. I love that, but I'll just leave it there. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. That scene where they just, kind of flailed around and started spewing blood from their eyes was quite good. Quite
Yeah.
good. And it honestly, it's something that Eldivan, if he had heard about, would have just been like hitting himself in the face because he knows that if you go too deep into like history and stuff, there are words and phrases and things that can cause damage. So he
Yeah,
would
there's
have,
madness. There's madness
yeah,
everywhere.
yeah. So if he had learned about that, he would be like, "Of course that could happen. You should have, done something differently." But yeah, on your thing about the skills, I think so. The first one, basic proficiency speech, that's not very good. Defy solecism daily, again, not very good. It's just defying a grammatical mistake for a day, once a day. It's like, okay. Tongue of Descartes Voon, obviously that one is green, so it's like she kind of created that skill. So yeah, it's definitely far above what she should have been getting at that level. And this synergy skill is also really good, but I
The
think,
synergy skill is so strong.
yeah, I think the reason it's so good is because it's a synergy skill rather than
So you're saying
any.
it's getting to the strength from her witch class rather than
Yeah,
the new class? Okay.
yeah,
I'll take it. That makes sense. Green skill and synergy skill is why it was strong.
yeah.
I just thought that like, oh, she jumped to level 5 on her first level up
Uh-huh.
and she got all these skills that are pretty strong. Like language proficiency will help her decode this so much faster. She's learning the base tongue of this new language. She'll be able to find the magical language that much faster, and also the eldritch resistance seems really strong. I'll just say that. All right,
Oh,
thank
it
you.
does. Yeah. Um, Thank you, Ready Quill. Let's go to Bleach Soul. Go ahead.
Yeah, I really like this chapter. I was waiting for a while to see what happened to the Empire after the attacks, and what happened to the witches, and what will happen in general to the characters. It's really nice seeing Doreen like developing like that, and getting more independent and more confident. Also, uh, Elvika's like development's also quite great, and it will push the plot forward with regards to like a new magic and stuff. And the night in Palace, it was really great. But I was thinking, I mean, they're gathering all these kind of vampires and stuff, and nobody else have noticed besides Ishkar and stuff. I mean, besides the Drakes, like it puts like a question mark to me about if other cities have these kind of special forces as well. So yeah, but all in all, I really enjoyed the chapter. It was very nice seeing the different perspective and the different growth of certain characters that did not have much spotlights before. Yeah, that's it.
It's always great coming back to characters, especially getting some really interesting new ones. Like Alevica has really been fleshed out, and she's just been great overall lately. As to the special forces comment, I'll just comment on that. We do know that all the Drake walled cities have like counterparts to the Eyes of Palace, but I think the Eyes of Palace are kind of like Chaldean's pet project, and that's why they were so good, basically. So I do think the other cities are probably lagging behind in this kind of development of um, vampire special forces or Reskar special forces. But thank you, Bleach Soul. I'll just read out Kineas's comment. I get the feeling that the first third or so of most chapters, this one included, is slower than it should. I usually take a bit to get invested in them, but did like the rest quite a bit. A lot of interesting developments with the vampire situation, and with Lakin, Doreen, and Alevica in general. Norman also had some very good moments. Oh yeah, there were some great moments. This I didn't take too long to get into this chapter because I was already prepared for it from last chapter. I was like, okay, we're gonna do more Lake in this chapter, so I could get into it pretty easily. Lotus, you're up next. You wanted to speak?
Hey, how's it going? So general overall opinion, definitely like a 9 out of 10 chapter for me. Uh, just general progression from the previous chapters, Lake and Doreen, Order of Solstice in general, great stuff. Uh, what really interested me the most was the hinting at next chapters, like where they're going, what's going on in the world. Ryoka in the south, it was commented like twice on in the chapter, and then that was it. What is she doing in the Southlands? That has me interested because it's progressing the plot. The other thing that didn't really get a lot of light, that we didn't get to see that much, was Lakin's new cape. His what is it? Speaking with animals, being able to speak with the Syrian lambs, that was eyebrow raising for me because that defeats the whole rules with not being able to talk to species that haven't gone through the trials. So that was very interesting for me. But generally, very good chapter. I just didn't. It felt very slow at the end with Alvica. Uh, finding all the knights of the I don't even remember the name. That whole end of the chapter felt kind of cut off with she's facing down all the family of vampires and then scene cuts, scene ends. But generally, very good chapter for me.
Yeah, this chapter was definitely cut in half from. If you watch stream, you'd know a little bit more that goes on, because this chapter definitely was cut in half from uh, one full meshed together chapter. Um, I think the end is a bit abrupt, but once we get the next chapter, it won't feel nearly as bad. But yeah, thank you. Oh, one other thing, Lotus. As to Ryoka being in the south, I'm almost certain that's the mimic, and it will be very interesting to hear more about that because we definitely know Ryoka is right now in Belarus. Um, so almost certainly could not have gotten to the south of Israel in that little time. But yeah, so I think it's the mimic. Anyways, thank you, Lotus. Yash Ketchum, you're up next.
Hello. Um, Nice chapter overall. I definitely appreciate the writing style. There are a few typos and all, but like I barely noticed them. You guys, I don't remember Thalissa. Like I'm trying to place her. I have a feeling she's got something to do with like the Griffin Prince, but it's just not hitting. Like I'm not able to jog my memory at all. Like this was also long ago. I have no idea who the characters are anymore. Um, but yeah, interesting. Like interesting that we got to see. I got to see relatively new characters in the story. That's always fun whenever we're introduced to a new character. It's a lot of fun. Lapsey was great. Um, I'm glad that Pirate got a little more nuance into the situation because we've done it before, right? We've done it with goblins. We've done it with other. We've done it with the Antonium. So, I mean, yes, Erin is known for a cause, but usually in her head, at least, or in the people that she manages to convince, in their heads at least, it's very clear. These species are not all bad. In fact, they're just like people. Like once Erin manages to change their mind like that, so it was. I was very interested in seeing a more nuanced perspective of maybe a community. Do they deserve rights? Absolutely. But are they doing something sinister? Absolutely. But they should also be apprehended in the same vein that everyone else is, and their community should not be targeted. And I think Pirate hit that. I think that's why we needed a Levica because when we got the Alevica scene at the end, I was like, but there was like a natural conclusion to the chapter. I mean, why not stop there? Why show the Alevica scenes as well? But I think it was important in this chapter because again, we needed to show nuance with the vampires. Whatever they may be doing, their children are still innocent. Like their children have not been indoctrinated into whatever is going on. Like if I had to draw, oh my God, I don't want to get political shit. But yeah, like if I had to draw comparisons, I would be like, okay, Hamas is bad, but the children who are being affected by Hamas are not bad. So Hamas should be tried fairly instead of demonizing an entire group. So I just felt like there was a real life parallel there. And that was nice because I feel like for people who may have not, completely thought about it, it gives them a fresh perspective. I liked the god stuff. Oh my god, I loved the like the Casigna stuff. And that was truly horrifying for me. Like for one moment I was like, oh shit. Like we forgot about Bethel. Oh my god. And the thing is, they were talking about miracles the way people in our world talk about gods and miracles and stuff, with absolute awe, absolute um, almost almost at this point, not quite, but almost devotional. And that feeling people get when in those mega churches they do those huge concerts with the songs and everything. Like, yeah, it's great, but it's also community feeling and like it's infectious because I feel the same way in any other concert. So it's like again, it's very nuanced writing. I'm in amazement of how Pirate has managed to write it. It's really amazing. Then there was one more. Oh, I am happy we got back to Drake politics. Drake politics are ever exciting, so exciting. And oh my god, that General Adine guy was such a douchebag. But I'm happy we got to see sneak peeks of what Ishkir might be capable of. I like how Esau tries to, recruit him, and I feel like headhunters are gonna be after him now, and Ishkir is like, "Bah, you can't afford me." Like that would be pretty darn amazing. But I just hope Palas doesn't. Oh God, if something happens to Ishkir, if Palas tries to capture him, if it tries to capture Liska, I would be very very upset. And I feel like General Adine is capable of something like that. So people, we need to project protection for Ishkir. Like that's of the utmost. Like that's like the most urgent thing right now. Ishkir has to be protected. But yeah, overall, great chapter. Like very good chapter. I'm quite happy. I love the way it was written. It was different from last chapter. Last chapter was very flowy and poetic, and because we had more fight scenes in here, it, this chapter was written in a way that complements fight scenes much more, and I quite appreciate that. So overall, great. Yay, pirate! You go, girl. You go, person.
Thank you, Yash. I definitely agree with you. I love seeing Drake politics. It was really fascinating to see how the other Drake cities seemingly are encroaching on Palace's leadership and are trying to actively sabotage them and succeeding in a lot of ways. And it's going to be interesting to see what Palace does. If someone like Grimalkin or Salus even would be willing to um, help fix the issue. I also liked your take on how vampires are they're not being shown as black and white. You know, there's definitely some of them who are doing some very bad things, and there are a lot who are completely innocent, all of it. But yeah, a lot of thoughts. Thank you, Yesh. They were all good thoughts. Mafia Hamster, Ederon, let's hear what you
Yeah,
had to say.
forgot one important thing that we didn't talk about yet. Maybe later. I haven't read all the questions. Casigna, the shrines, huge implications. Oh my godness. They have fucking shrines to that thing. I don't even wanna. And my godness, that's huge. I was shocked, to be honest, that we have a whole village praying to her now, and that's how it spreads. And I'm excited to see where this is going. I'm not sure why Elvika just blanked out and started destroying that thing. Was it some PTSD from the battle, or was it more? I'm not really sure, but that also was awesome. And yeah, you continue to see again Bethel from one of the most like character to like now. I don't want to say the word because it's offensive, so I'm not gonna do it. But yeah, let's say she's even worse than Drapes, and that's something.
Oh my gosh. Wow, Edward, that
Yeah.
says a lot. Says a
Mhm.
lot coming
Mhm.
from you. All right, thank you, Edward. Mr. Europe says, agree with Yash, but my opinion regarding Bethel's land is that this entire city must be purged. And since we're talking about Bethel so much, let's just move on to the very first question of the ACD that
That
isn't just
sorry,
general
that was an
impressions.
Arthur quote.
Anyone who didn't think Bethel was all that bad, have you changed your minds? What's going through everyone's minds right now regarding Bethel? Um, I will just start us off by saying her out, starting off a, a worship thing, an altar, prayer, that kind of stuff. I don't see it as that bad in regards to like making her more or less likable, simply because she doesn't know what she's doing and this is what she agreed to in the first place, you know? Like this is what the deal was with Casigna from the very start was uh to worship her, basically. So I don't think I don't really think she has enough information to um, be worse than she is already. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. She's as bad as she was before this chapter as she is now for me. These are just the consequences of her deal that she made. Anyways, Chloe Man says my best girl has gone bad. Thank you, Quilly. Dart Time Guru says she Bethel her chips on the wrong side. Yeah, she bets all her chips on the wrong side. Thank you, Dart Time Goose. Anyways, Mr. Europe, how about you speak?
Yeah, I asked this question mainly because I wanted to hear from people like Quilly and stuff like that. I mean, I thought I should put in my sense since I did ask it, but I've always been of the opinion that Bethel should definitely be killed. She's awful. She betrayed everyone for the gods, so screw her. But also, and now I've just added that it's interesting given the whole vampire thing. But I mean, the gods are basically an info hazard, so they kind of need to tear down a bunch of stuff and memory wipe people because the like half dead goddess almost like destroyed several armies and one afterlife and almost two others by existing, and she can't be allowed to come back. So yeah, Bethel is just actively spreading an info hazard at this point. Yeah. It sucks that her sister is probably going to get caught up in it and die again, but as long as that happens before Bethel dies so that she sees it, I'd be okay with it.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Europe. It really is unfortunate that her sister is absolutely going to get caught up in all this. Like, I don't think there's any real way to avoid that. But yeah, I still don't think Bethel's doing anything like worse than she did before, you know? But it's just because she doesn't know, and she made a deal that was stupid. Anyways. Yash Ketchum, you're up.
Yo. So, yeah, like, okay, contrary to a lot of people, and I know people have very strong opinions on this, but contrary to a lot of people like Beth annoy the hell out of me. And yeah, she's fun, yeah, she's cheeky, but there is a difference between being cheeky and being contrarian simply because. So, okay, I mean, I was pretty neutral on Bessel before the deal and all of that was made. And now I'm like, okay, this is like what she was going to do. It's just that we're seeing it now. And seeing it is very shocking. But the fact that she's doing it is not very shocking at all. What actually threw me off a lot, like, okay, so Bethel she wasn't like a very minor character, but when you have so many powerful characters in a setting, it's easy to ignore what Bethel usually says or does because you know it's usually something stupid. So now that I think about it, there may have been like foreshadowing that, you know, with Lynette and her remembering her sister and her trauma and all of that. Great. When the shock did come, when it was revealed that Bethel made a deal like this, that was again shocking because there was not much foreshadowing. Great. The only thing is now, because I have not invested much in Bethel, anyways, what happens to her, particularly, I'm least worried about. Like, at this point, if she stays in the story or dies, for me, it's the same thing. Because now it's no longer about her, it's about the consequences of her actions. So, her as a character, I am not bothered by in the least. Like, she can go live somewhere. Not interested. But yeah, like Bethel, what I am very, very afraid of, like in this particular story arc, you know how like Lady Walchase, not Walchase, who was that lady? Lady Turland and the other one, the one who's like their mentor and stuff. They are coming to visit Bethel. They are seeing her sister. They were very, very attached to her sister. And when you have powerful people believing in something, it's not that difficult to then make those powerful people make their subjects believe what they believe, if that makes sense. Like, because if let's say Lady Toland starts believing and she's got the golems here protecting Bethel, it's not a far cry to say maybe the Tolands are, now slowly turning into Casigna worshippers or at least sympathizers because Citizen did fight against her. He did, right? I think he did. But yeah, like I'm more interested in how it spreads and with Bethel being patient zero than about her character as a whole. Like she's now irrelevant.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting viewpoint on Bethel. I've always before into Volume 9, I always kind of enjoyed Bethel because, yeah, she definitely has moments where she's doing stupid things because that's what she wants to do. But at the same time, she never seemed malicious towards people, even if she had an edge to her. But now, even without the maliciousness, she's causing huge amounts of harm simply because she did what she wanted to, rather than thought through her actions in any significant sort of way. So yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from. That Bethel is kind of an idiot. She's just kind of stupid. But yeah, thank you, Yash. Kania says, I think we only got a small taste of bigger developments in the future. Almost no character is fully black or white, and we can only wait to see how things will go. She was a likable character initially, so things could end up going either way. They could. They absolutely could. But she is one of the very first people in the End World who is actively worshipping some of the dead gods. Bleachlow, you're up next. Bleachlow? If you're speaking, we can't hear you. Um. All right. I'll come back to you, Bleach Soul. Edoron, how about you come and speak?
Yes. Um, I have a bit forgot what I wanted to say, but I think Bethel. Yeah, I wanted to react to you that she isn't worth. I think she is definitely worth, even though she don't know, because now she turned the analogous with the plague. Patient zero is a good analysis. It's a good um, metaphor because now she turned the ship that she stole to save other people into a plague ship, and that's dangerous. That's really dangerous. And without even thinking about anything about her ramification, that's uh, reckless. Other people have lost people too, and you don't see them turning on the whole, not even the whole, not the own species, on the whole world, basically. And I don't even think that the poor sister is gonna drag is that is being dragged into it. I think the sister is an abomination. It will turn out to be an abomination just in disguise. I can remember the first Christmas that we have when the gods uh gave Ryoka an offer to get her finger back, and the finger looked like nice and perfect, and then turned out to be some wiggly, disgusting thing that like was wiggling on the ground, if I remembered correctly, after she rejected it. And I think we are just getting fooled that this is actually his sister, and it's just some abomination. I'm pretty sure. And she will regret doing what she did. And I'm gonna laugh.
I don't know if Bethel, unless her sister turns against her, I don't think Bethel will ever truly regret what she did. Like, it just doesn't seem like it's something that she does, you know? I don't think she regrets things very much. She lives
Yeah.
for herself.
And Thomas. Poor Thomas. Oh god. That man.
He
Such
loves
an.
her.
They were my favorite couple.
Yeah, they
And
were a great
now.
couple.
Ah. Poor Thomas.
Oh, well. Thank you, Morchen. Or, not Morchen, sorry. Thank you.
Morchen.
I was taking my glasses off and I saw a name and I just read the name and it was the wrong name, Meteron. This is
Okay,
what you
Mr.
get for
Diggles.
This is what you get for calling yourself Mafia Hamster instead of Eteron. Okay, I see an
Okay,
M, I
Mr.
read the
Diggles.
M. Alright,
Mr.
thank you,
Sniggles.
Eteron. Bleach Soul says, I'm having difficulty with the audio. She is not stupid. She is very stupid and self-centered. Okay. Alright, thank you. Mr. Europe says, one of Bethel's first appearances was her attacking Rack's tribe, and when two of her knights were captured, she immediately forgot about them and rode off to have sex in a bush. She's never been particularly aware of consequences, risks, or the concept of casualties. Or
Causality.
causality? I didn't. Okay. Causality. Thank you, Mr. Europe. Yeah. She's always been a loose cannon. It's true. She has. Petrichor says, I'm more worried about what Bethel represents. The Turland matriarch lost her twin sister, and the Fulviola died against the Goblin Kings, so I think the members of high families who lost loved ones at the sacrifice of roses are interested in seeing if what happened with Bethel's sisters can be replicated. We know Zynier at one point loved Casigna until he saw what she did. And with it being stated that elves, the Jinni, were split on both sides of the god war, I think she is the first figure to decide who fights with the gods. Yeah, I do agree with you that she's quickly becoming like the heart of the anti or the pro god faction. Bleacho, did you want to try and talk again?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, nice. The thing is, I'm really at a lost at. It's not like her decision because I know what kind of person she is. Extremely selfish. But the thing I'm really that annoys me is that Terraland protects her, even though she attacked her family member, and her knights are still loyal. What kind of honor do they have if they allow her? They don't take her to task when she betrayed her fellow allies. Not only that, she betrayed all of humanity for her own selfish goals. I can understand like they swear to her, but they have like higher cause, higher purpose. They should at least, and that with regards to, like like Norman, what's right is right and what's not right is not right. But apparently they don't have that kind of honor and stuff. And the Terraland, I don't get it. I mean, maybe Terraland wants to bring back her family or some members of her family, but it doesn't work like that now. Yeah, that's it.
So the reason why the Turlins are on her side is definitely just because of Ulta, the leader of House Turland wanting her sister to come back. It's definitely definitely just the head of the house basically saying, okay, she's on our side. You guys are gonna listen to me. She's just yeah. Ulta is just um, twisting everyone to her desires because she wants her sister back. Reading Quill, you're up next. And then afterwards, we're going to move on to the next question.
Okay. So like what Europe said, he called it info hazard. It's also known as like a cognito hazard. And Bethel is now a source of a cognito hazard. She's spreading it amongst the people. And we know that people that take religious classes then lose a lot of their autonomy and they have to follow what the gods say. Um, and Bethel has like basically always been following her heart, and we've agreed with her in the past on some cases where she's followed her heart, but in this case she's decided to basically become a traitor to the world because she wants her sister back. And I think the Turland house leader is wanting the same thing. She's following her heart, maybe detriment, and I'm not sure they truly understand what they will be losing by making this choice, but that's what they're doing. I think it's really important that people understand how hard it is to scrub out a religion as like with that as a cognito hazard. Like you can't just like kill them because then the people who killed them will know about the religion. Um, it's got to be done with like psychic selfids or something, erasing memories, and then noble leaders scrubbing classes. I think that's the only way it could be done. But even then, knowledge could spread. I'm surprised that like a halfling from the moon hasn't come down and obliterated the town yet. But like maybe that would solve it too quickly. So maybe it's for plot reasons. But I think Bethel follows her heart in every single case, and she doesn't consider the consequences of that. And it's helped her in the past with like breeding horses. She loved horses, so she like she got really good at it, and she made a lot of money doing it. And she's able to create a night order. She followed her heart with Tomas, and that relationship has turned out really well. And then she followed her heart with reinstating her sister into life by betraying in world to do that. So that's what I think.
All right, thank you, Reading Quill. I'll just respond to one aspect of it. I think um the halfling on the moon is one of those like last ditch. If if there's a chance the God's identities are going to be spread to the entire world, then that contingency will react because I don't think it can. I don't think it's possible for them to construct something that would allow a halfling to transport from the moon back for like any little uh information about the gods slipping through. I think it has to hit some critical threshold for that to activate. Um, Dark Time Guru says, I guess Bethel spent too long horsing around. And Red Ink Quill says, Bethel her chips on horses. You guys and your puns just make me read the puns over and over and over and over. Alright, thank you all for your lovely puns. Let's move on. Another big aspect of this chapter, let's talk about vampires. Vampires and their actions, and Lapsey and being converted to vampirism. So what do you guys actually think about what happened to Lapsey? was is this like uh showing that vampires really will start up their dark empire again, or is this more of like a limited group of individuals who are starting to do this kind of um, disturbing conversion of people who don't really know better? And anything else you want to talk about in regards to Lapsey? Um, One thing I wanted to note on this subject was that Lapsey apparently knows about how to convert someone into a thrall. And that seems like something that is extremely odd to tell a brand new vampire unless you're teaching her how to be more of a vampire supremacist than anything else. Because why would you ever want to make someone into your thrall when that for sure is going to get people to come and go against you? That's like one of the easiest ways to make sure everyone hates you. It's basically selfids and taking over someone's mind. So it's like that for sure is something that's just way out there. And the other vampires who heard about it were extremely concerned about upon hearing her talk about enthralling someone. So it's like, yeah, that I don't think that most vampires or even a lot of vampires are in this kind of faction that Seville was definitely in, where they seemingly want to start up and do, tit for tat. If they're gonna if they're gonna burn our villages down, um we're gonna start doing equally horrible stuff for them. I don't think that's all vampires, but it's definitely concerning that we've already seen one faction who seemingly is willing to do that right off the bat. But yeah, Mr. Yup, you wanted to speak?
Personally, the thrall stuff doesn't actually concern me much. I mean, obviously, the guy vampire, what's his name, is like not a not a great person. I think we can all agree. I mean, he they did test him with the honor flame, and he didn't get as good results. But like it, I didn't get the feeling that he was a super monster or anything. Just like very sketchy and had pretty manipulative tendencies. But it's didn't seem like he hypnotized her or anything. Personally, I feel like the whole thrall thing could easily be like there's a ton of different reasons why that could be explained very innocently. Like, I mean, first of all, they were going to try to expand vampirism, and he did turn her. It makes perfect sense that he explained in that process, would explain this is how you turn someone into vampirism. But if you just do this first part, it turns them into a thrall. Like that for me. That's seems like it would be part of the instructions for how to do that. Uh, if you want to avoid it or do it, like it doesn't matter. I think there's like it's not a good sign, but it's not a necessarily a bad sign in my eyes either. Uh, I feel kind of like, I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of that in this, that it's like bad sign and a good sign, like the whole making a vampire army. I mean, it's not great, is it? But at the same time, this mirrors, I feel, Lakin's position in River Farm, that he didn't want to create an army, and then, oh, we're he's not even a vampire, and he wants to create an army from hearing about this whole Clary Fields and the Inquisition stuff around. Why wouldn't the vampires want to create a force able to like protect themselves and able to actually fight back? Of course they would. and apparently both the drakes and the humans are hunting them. So I mean, I don't see how, like, the difference between the sketchy ass stuff that this vampire guy was doing and what would be a perfectly reasonable response. I think the difference between them is very thin.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rip. I will just say that when Lapsey was talking about how to convert someone into a thrall, Kolfa and Vallant were listening in, and both of them reacted very negatively to her knowing that information. So, at the very least, I think it's a huge, it's a very big social faux pas that Lapsey would ever know about this in the first place so early on.
Just to say, it might be a social faux pas, but that doesn't mean, like, to me, it doesn't mean it's like a necessarily a bad thing to know. Just that that could also be the other way around, that she's a new vampire and was just info dumped on, without any of the like actual culture or whatever around it. It's like just giving a soldier a bunch of weapons without training, and like that's again not a good sign, but not necessarily as bad a sign as it sounds like to me.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Europe. Let's move on to Yash Ketchum.
Hello. Um, I like to think we have to take a nuanced approach to the vampires. The whole thrall thing. I mean, as as a kid who consumed a lot of vampire content, I think it's like I was expecting something like this, all the vampire powers and everything. Like it makes sense. What was Apsy able to do again? Turn into a wolf. I was like, hey, this is this is like weird. I mean, are we like introducing werewolf lore now? But it was fun anyways, like different vampires, different powers, very Twilight. So like I guess that was fun. But as for the motivations, I think their community is going to have factions, of course. I don't think as a people they have one united cause. We saw Revel. In fact, we saw Revel and his friends burn down house fires. And yes, I don't think I think what Parrot is trying to say here is we should not look at them as one community. There may be bad actors within that community, but that doesn't mean we should label the entire people as such. What is again like I keep trying to make this, like this argument. If for anyone who's watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, like if anybody had a time machine and could go and kill Fire Lord Ozai, this is like a fairly this is what people use for Hitler, right? But if they could go back and kill Fire Lord Ozai when he was a kid, knowing what he's going to do in the future, does that kid deserve to be killed? Right? And I think that applies to our community as well. You can only judge people based on the actions that they have caused. I think preemptively reacting to anything is dumb. You can discourage them, you can make them aware of their past, but preemptively attacking anybody is not right. So, but at the same time, other people's reactions to them, while they cannot be condoned, they can be understood. That does not mean that does not by any means mean, that what vampires doing are right. If they can do it, if they can have an army, if they can defend their people, why shouldn't they? So this is a very, very, very uh, complex topic, which we'll have to think about in like very philosophical terms. But the real life cost, while people sit and think on these philosophical terms, is very high. Because in real life, innocent vampires are getting killed. Uh, Now with the whole issue I see with Lapsey being converted from a person, yes, it did not feel right because it feels like there is a group of vampires who are just trying to create an arm to defend themselves, but they're doing it unethically. So, but what other option do they have? It's either that or be killed. Oh God, like there are so many angles and there are so many sides to it. Um, are their powers something to be afraid of? Yes, but I think that of there's something to be afraid of in the same way any person of power or any person in power is something to be afraid of. There have to be checks and balances, and because vampires have so unilaterally been outcasted, that kind of nuance was never explored. Like with the self kids, they made an attempt to have the Venetian wall. They made an attempt to coexist, but such a coexistence was never explored with the vampires. Now you have to ask yourself, is it because the vampires did not want to coexist, or what? Like there's a lot of history that has to be unearthed here. I think we're gonna get that. I do feel bad for Lapsy, but I also feel like perhaps given everything that she's been through, the info dump and everything, yeah, like she's had an she's overwrought. She's had a very difficult one of the worst days anybody can imagine. Like, her partner who she's recently married was killed. It does not matter. Like you have to look at situations as they occur, right? Like you can't so like we're working on this technology where we're trying to understand EEG scans, and if you look at an if you look at a complete EEG scan, if you won't be able to find patterns. But if you look at if you take certain snapshots, you take small windows and you look at the actions, I think then it's easier to wrap your brain around. I think that's what's going to happen here. I do not think I don't think Lakin is going to be helping the vampires in any. Yes, we all hoped for it because that's what he did with the goblins, but this is not like the goblins. This is much different. Goblins are a people who don't wield the kind of power that vampires do, and that power dynamic makes a huge difference. So it's fair for Lakin to take a Switzerland stance. Um, but I think a lot of people who may be sympathetic to vampires will also be taking the Switzerland stance. And if they do, how are the vampires supposed to defend themselves? A lot of circular questioning. I'm very excited to see how Pirate approaches this. I'm sure she's thought about. Oh my goodness. I'm sure Pirate has thought about this a lot. And yeah, I would like to see a solution that's largely acceptable to anyone while leaving the innocence alone. Basically, that. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Yash. One thing to note, at the very beginning, you were talking about vampires turning into wolves and kind of being confused about that. In the original Dracula novel, Dracula turns into a wolf. He has the ability to to shapeshift into wolves. So that's kind of more. It's still in line with traditional depictions of vampires. They can turn into wolves. They can turn into a lot of different things. But yeah, otherwise, I will say that while I agree with you that this is a lot, this is like one separate group of vampires. The vampires are so ostracized that anyone who learns about this plot of Seville's, they could turn it into a huge different disinformation campaign that, oh, look at this group. They're trying to start out off making thralls. They're doing all kinds of things to ensure vampires rise again. And
Absolutely. I think we're going to see a
yeah,
lot of propaganda happening from the
yeah.
Dartinian Dartin side and from the
Hmm.
I you know I feel like the witches are going to be particularly involved in this because I think witch hunters were also mentioned, and I feel like the witches are going to be like, okay, so if it's vampires now, who's to stop them from coming after us next? And they may be forced to take a side, even if they even if they have no personal stakes in it, but as a community, they may be like, it starts with the vampires, it starts with, vampire hunts and so on. But who's to say tomorrow they won't take the example of Belavier, and witches are already not very, in a very good place. So the witches may try to influence a lot of people here as well.
Yeah, it could be. Witches are definitely an ostracized group too, so they share a lot of simple similarities. We'll see where Pirate Abbott decides to take it. Maybe next chapter will give us some more information on it, especially because at the end of this chapter, I suspect we'll get the continuation of that scene. Thank you, Yash. Let's move on to Red and Quill.
So my opinion on what happened to Lapsey was that she was probably enthralled before being turned, um, to convince her to leave her village, or if that wasn't what was happening, predatory behavior, to come in only for her fertileness and her ability to have children that aren't tainted by silver. And it was also an eloping upon meeting her almost immediately. I'm very skeptical of it. It reminds me of child bride things that happen in the United States where like an older person will come into like a town and then marry a 16-year-old, and you know that's just what happens. I disagree with that. In terms of vampires, I think they should be treated like sylphids and maybe lizard folk are, where they're allowed to exist, but they're monitored, and any behavior like creating lots of thralls of people is cracked down upon. But it's not like where you salt and burn an entire race. Uh, the problem is that we're in the process of getting there, and I think it'll be interesting to see what it takes for the vampires to get the negotiating power to reach that kind of settlement with the rest of the world where they're allowed to live and not be poisoned, but it's also controlled whether they're creating thralls and stealing classes from people just for fun, um, or creating immortal tyrants like the that Reinhardt that we know of. But that's my take on it. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Red and Quill. We're running a little late, so I won't respond. Bleach though, you're up next. Go ahead.
Yeah. Um, I mean, she was awfully. I don't know. I blame her for. The thing is, I think like she was awfully naive. What she like she immediately like they find somebody. I don't know. She reminds me a lot of the rain. Like somebody give her an attention a bit and she falls in love, and but their aim was for her to be like pure and not having any kind of venom or what poison. So with regards to I don't know, yeah, so that's actually, I mean, like her naivete, and maybe I would rather say maybe her lack of experience have put her in this situation. uh, with regards to making thralls and vampirism, I think it's a dangerous precedent. Like if they can, I mean, lure a girl of her age and innocence into the vampirism. So what else? I mean, maybe they enthralled her, or did something to her brain for her to become a vampire. So maybe she didn't do it on her free will. Like, but who knows? I mean, yeah, but I mean, it's yeah. I mean, I don't know. She's like a small town girl, and she got like deceived quite easily. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but yeah, it happened. That's it.
All right, thank you, Bleach Soul. Sahalis says, Terry preferred vampires remaining oblivious to their poison. He was not just apathetic, but against vampires learning the truth. I think this is not just because what vampires did in the past, but something innate to them. A similar species that took control of others, Selphids, were eventually forgiven, but even the BK wants vampires on their side. This could be because vampires are innately evil. Similar to the Raskar, there could be good vampires who fight their nature, but some corruption exists that twists their souls. They are driven by their nature to be predators of people. It's telling that there is a group of vampires seeking out someone to turn and enthrall, and the first tendency of this new group is to kill a bunch of people. Lamprey seems unnaturally bloodthirsty. Well, I mean, Lamprey, Lasby, hold on, Lapsey was just kidnapped and was had her wedding party killed. She had her husband just killed in front of her. She was about to be tortured and she was being interrogated. I think her bloodthirstiness is really quite understandable. Like, I don't see any issue with that she wants to kill these people because of what they've done to her. Otherwise, I just don't agree that they're innately evil. I just don't think that's how Pineapple is going to write them. Mr. Europe says goblins arguably wield more power than vampires. Also, it's proven that vampires aren't innately evil, literally in the story. Thank you, Mr. Europe. Anyways, that's the vampires. Unfortunately, we've gone on so long, so let's just do one more question, and it's going to be a short, kind of jokey question. But, Ishkr the Magnificent, Ishkr the Wondrous, and his trusty sidekick, Liska the Opener of Doors, breaking through walled city checkpoints, making skills affect entire groups when they shouldn't. What can't Ishkr and Liska do? So this is all for Ishkr and Liska praise. If you wanted to say something very nice about Ishkr or Liska, now is a chance. But this chapter kind of continues to show how amazing Ishkr is, and really Liska. Liska, she can open doors. She can open checkpoints like that with just the snap of a finger. They're both really high level. They're both doing great. And it's awesome to see. Red and Quill, you want to speak?
I think Ishkar and Liska just Aaron and being able to power level people and unlock potential because neither of them were particularly notable before they started working for her. But Ishkar has become a server of tales and fables, and Liska, I'm not quite sure exactly what her. I think she's a Dornal, but I think it's a little more crazy than that. Um, I love it. Ishkar is going to turn level 40 soon if he hasn't already. I'm not exactly sure what his skills are in terms of like empowering other people. I don't know if he has an empowering skill or he has a skill to change single target effects into wide effects. Although it seems like a strategist can affect a wide amount of people, so it's probably an empowering thing. But I love that they're trying to poach him, and he's like, you can't afford me." Yeah. All right. That's it.
Yeah, they definitely can't afford him, especially because I don't think he really cares about monetary stuff so much as being in the middle of Aaron's wacky ride, which they just can't afford. They can't do that. They can't provide them with the same kind of opportunities that the Wandering Inn will provide them. Bleachsoul, you're up next.
What can I say about Ishkar besides he's freaking awesome? I mean, his his skills are really something. You wouldn't expect that from head server, but damn, I mean, and his sister, I mean, they make like a deadly combination. Knows secret weapon against the drakes and the humans in future conflicts. That's it.
Ishkr is apparently not even level 40 too. So it's like, what is he going to get as his level 40 skill? How can he get even more awesome? We're going to find out. And hope it's the best skill ever. Because Ishkr deserves it. I actually really like how Ishkr transformed into basically from the waiter in the background to the waiter in the background who can force multiply everyone, and is just amazing in every way. Miss Europe says Liska is going to make doors disappear by turning them into jars with her "when is a door not a door" skill. Yeah, I'm sure she will. And you wanted to speak, Miss Europe?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure that you read my pun first. Yeah, I always enjoy Ishkur's sections because he's always more competent than anyone around him expects him to be, like including his sister. It's just more powerful than anyone can do. And yeah, it's I always enjoy when he just shows up and kicks ass, even organizationally. Uh, it's always funny, and now Liska has joined in too. Best family in Listcore. I also think that it's funny because technically, I don't think Palace actually can afford his salary now. Since if they tried to outbid like his salary and give him more, Leonette is actually capable of matching any offer that they could possibly give, unless they wanted to spend, like, even if they spent their like twice what they would pay someone of his competence, she could still just lend him the box for a couple of days.
Okay, yeah, that's absolutely true, and probably what Ishkur was more referring to. Yeah, you're right, Mr. Yip. That is a very good point. But yeah, Ishkur, amazing. And with that, I am going to start concluding the after chapter discussion. I just wanted to read off the most important question that Mr. Europe left us all to think about for the end of this discussion. I'm quoting directly here from Mr. Europe, who said, "Who else is disappointed now that the long-awaited Great Witch Thalissa has finally made an appearance? Was she everything you all assumed she would be?" So just think about that. Think about that while we conclude this recording for the after chapter discussion of 10.20E. We'll see you all next time. Meow.